Hello and Assalamu alaikum dear students. Welcome to a new video of mine with a new lecture on a new topic, and today's topic is related to a very famous Shakespearean tragedy called Hamlet. Today we are going to discuss the protagonist of this tragedy, Hamlet. The protagonist Hamlet is the most significant character in the play Hamlet. It is the central point, it is the central character in the tragedy, in the sense that all the other characters, they revolve around the character of Hamlet. All the rest of the characters, they merely function as foil to his personality, foil to his character. All the characters also get their significance out of his character. If Gertrude is there, if Claudius is there, if Polonius is there, if Ophelia, the heroine of the play, if all of them are meaningful and important to the reader and audience, it is due to the fact that they have something to do with the protagonist Hamlet. So Hamlet in this way enjoys the central most position in the play Hamlet. Hamlet as a character is remarkably universal character, in the sense that everybody can relate to his character, his personality. His life reflects one aspect of our life or the other aspect of our life. As a character, Hamlet is also a very complex and intricate kind of a character, because in the play Hamlet, he performs the role of a revenger, and as a revenger, he is not a conventional revenger to carry out the duty of revenge and that's it. His duty of revenge involves many complexities and intricacies, which we will discuss later on in our today's lecture. So let's discuss the main aspects of Hamlet's character. First important aspect of Hamlet's character is he is a man with exceptional or extraordinary qualities. He is not an ordinary kind of a human being. He is not an ordinary personality. Rather, he is an extraordinary type of a personality. There are many extraordinary things about Hamlet. One such thing is he is Prince of Denmark. He is an important personality in the state of Denmark, and he is the successor to the throne of state of Denmark. So in this way, he is an extraordinary and exceptional type of a character. Second important exceptional thing about Hamlet's personality is he has a very graceful and beautiful and dashing personality. Such a graceful personality he possesses that there's a woman called Ophelia, which is the heroine of the play as well. She loves him passionately, but he does not respond to her love later on in the play due to his own certain reasons. Next important extraordinary quality of Hamlet's personality is that he is a scholarly type of a person, a philosophical type of a person. He is a man with scholarly mind and philosophical bent of mind. He is not an ordinary kind of a person with ordinary mental capacities. Rather, he possesses extraordinary mental abilities and capacities. He thinks deeply about different aspects of life with his philosophical mind and scholarly mind, which makes him so different from the rest of the character in the play Hamlet. Another important aspect of Hamlet's personality is religious mindedness. This is another important exceptional quality about him. He is an extremely religious minded kind of a person. He doesn't possess a secular kind of mind, secular approach towards life. Rather, he has a very religious, a very moralistic kind of approach towards life. He sees and judges things around him on the basis of his religion, on the basis of his morality, which is why he finds many faults with the universe, with the world, with the system of the world. Another important exceptional quality of Hamlet's character is extreme sensitiveness. Yes, he is an extremely sensitive kind of a being. He is not a thick-skinned kind of a person. Rather, he is thin-skinned kind of a person who feels deeply each and everything that happens in his life. So these exceptional qualities of Hamlet's personality are reflected by Ophelia's soliloquy. In her soliloquy, she says, "Oh, what a noble mind is here overthrown! The courtiers, soldiers, scholars' eye, tongue, sword, the expectancy and rose of the fair state, the glass of fashion and the mold of form, the observed of all the observers." So, this soliloquy of Ophelia clearly reflects that Hamlet is a man with extraordinary mental, psychological, emotional, inner capabilities and abilities, which are not possessed by an ordinary kind of a human being, or which are not possessed by any other character in the play Hamlet. Despite all these exceptional qualities and capabilities, Hamlet suffers and dies a tragic death. Why? What was the reason? The reason is his inaction. He is an inactive kind of a person who delays and postpones the duty of revenge. He does carry out the duty of revenge, but at the cost of his own life. Next important aspect of Hamlet's character in the play Hamlet is tragic flaw. The very phrase tragic flaw can be explained. Tragic mean related to tragedy, related to sadness, involving sadness and sorrow. Flaw mean demerit, a drawback. So it is called tragic flaw in the sense that it is a kind of a flaw that causes the downfall of the tragic hero. This tragic flaw is also possessed by Hamlet in the play Hamlet. And Hamlet's tragic flaw is a very controversial one in the sense that there are different views regarding his tragic flaw. Some of the critics are of the view that his tragic flaw is this one, and some are of the view that his tragic flaw is this one. There are two distinct views in this regard. One is that of S.T. Coleridge, a 19th century romantic poet and a critic, and the other is held by a famous critic, a learned critic called A.C. Bradley. According to S.T. Coleridge, Hamlet's tragic flaw is excessive thinking. In other words, Hamlet is an introvert kind of a person in whose eyes external world has little meaning. All he cares about is his inside than outside. According to Coleridge, Hamlet delays the duty of revenge because he is an excessively thinking kind of a person. Had he been an unthinking mind, then he would have carried out the duty of revenge quickly. But unfortunately, this was not the case with Hamlet. He was an introvert kind of a person. He was a man with philosophical bent of mind. So when it came to the duty of revenge, he kept on delaying the duty of revenge till the time when he does carry out the duty of revenge, but at the cost of his own life. This view of S.T. Coleridge is largely accepted one. Majority of the critics are of the view that Hamlet delayed the duty of revenge because of his excessive thinking, because of his philosophical bent of mind. This view of S.T. Coleridge is also supported by the textual evidences. There are at least two evidences from the text of the play Hamlet which support this theory. One such textual evidence is Craven's scruple of thinking too precisely on the event. So this line clearly reflects that Hamlet is all the time busy thinking exactly over the nature of events and incidents that take place in his life. So due to which he keeps on delaying the duty of revenge. In the fourth soliloquy, he says, "My resolution is lying sick over with the pale cast of thought." The pale cast of thought. The paleness shows the inactiveness of Hamlet. That Hamlet is not ready to carry out the duty of revenge at once. Rather, he is in a delaying mode. He is delaying the duty of revenge unduly. So these are the two evidences which prove that Hamlet delayed the duty of revenge due to his excessive thinking. So this is how college believes that Hamlet's tragic flaw is excessive thinking. Whereas on the other hand, A.C. Bradley is of the view that Hamlet delayed the duty of revenge not because of excessive thinking, rather because of a particular mental state called melancholia, or in other words, a kind of melancholy. A.C. Bradley is also of the view that no doubt excessive thinking is a flaw with Hamlet, but it is not the direct cause of his tragedy, direct cause of his delay. Rather, the direct cause of his delay of duty of revenge is melancholy. When he becomes melancholic, he keeps on delaying the duty of revenge till the time when he does carry out the duty of revenge, but at the cost of his own life. So these are the two distinct points of views related to the tragic flaw of Hamlet. Next important aspect of Hamlet's personality is his causes of inaction. When we study the play Hamlet, then we have a question in our mind that why Hamlet delays the duty of revenge. What's the reason for that? Why he keeps on delaying the duty of revenge? In this regard, there are two distinct theories. One is that of external difficulties, and the other one is that of internal difficulties. No doubt, Hamlet faced both these difficulties in his carrying out the duty of revenge or behind his inaction. There are many external difficulties that are faced by Hamlet, due to which he is inactive as far as the duty of revenge is concerned. One such external difficulty is that King Claudius is surrounded by Swiss bodyguards, because of which Hamlet cannot have the opportunity to carry out the duty of revenge. So this is one of the external difficulties. Second important external difficulty in his way to carry out the duty of revenge is his public accusation of the king of the murder of his father. He cannot do this. He cannot publicly accuse King Claudius with the murder of his father. Why? Because he doesn't have any solid proof to prove his accusation in solid form. As a result of that, he keeps on delaying the duty of revenge. Next important theory is theory of internal difficulties, that Hamlet delayed the duty of revenge due to internal difficulties, or Hamlet was inactive as far as his duty of revenge is concerned due to internal difficulties. And in his internal difficulties, there is his philosophical bent of mind, excessive thinking, his melancholy, his moral idealism. These are some of the inner difficulties that made Hamlet to keep on delaying the duty of revenge, to keep on being inactive as far as the duty of revenge is concerned. For example, his excessive thinking, as we have discussed previously, leads him towards the negligence of the duty of revenge. As we have also discussed, melancholy as one of the factors behind his inaction, behind his delay of duty of revenge. So melancholy is also another important aspect of his causes of inaction. The next important cause of his inaction is moral idealism. Remember that it is believed that Hamlet is a man with exquisite moral sensibility. Morally, he has a very sensitive mind and heart. He judges each and everything from the angle of morality. He doesn't look at things from practical point of views. Rather, he looks at each and everything around him on the basis of moral idealism. And he finds faults with many things in his surroundings, including the duty of revenge. When he looks at the duty of revenge from the lens of moral idealism, he detects many drawbacks in it, many ills and evils in it, due to which he shrinks from the duty of revenge. He shows inaction as far as the duty of revenge is concerned. So this brief discussion proves that Hamlet's own talents, Hamlet's own gifts, which is powerful intellect, exquisite moral sensibility, his philosophical bent of mind, his sensitive nature, his exquisite moral sensibility, they become enemy of him. He suffers and dies a tragic death because of his own intellectual, emotional, and moralistic gifts that nature had bestowed him with. Next important aspect of Hamlet's character is his involvement in various conflicts. There are at least two types of conflicts in which Hamlet is involved. Number one is external conflict, number two is internal conflict. For example, external conflict happens in Hamlet on the one hand and Claudius on the other. This is the main external conflict. Hamlet wants to take revenge upon King Claudius because he is the killer of his father, because he has murdered his father. This is the main conflict. And there are also sub-external conflicts. For example, there is external conflict also there in the form of the conflict between Hamlet on the one hand and Laertes, Ophelia's brother, on the other. Both of them, they fight a duel during the course of the play, during which both of them are killed. So this is another important example of external conflict. Then there is also internal conflict, which is sharper than, acuter than the external conflict. In other words, Hamlet suffers more because of internal conflict than external conflict. Internal conflict happens inside the mind and heart of Hamlet between two opposite forces. One is moral idealism, two is his duty of revenge, his voice of revenge. On the one hand, his mind, his heart says to carry out the duty of revenge, to kill the killer of his father. On the other hand, his moral idealism, his sensitive conscience, his moral sensibility stops him from carrying out the duty of revenge. Because his moral sensibility tells him that his duty of revenge involves evil in it, bad things in it. So he should avoid it. Next important aspect of Hamlet's character is character or destiny, which is responsible for his sufferings and death. In other words, in simple words, Hamlet suffers and dies a tragic death because of what? Because of character more or because of fate more? Which one is more responsible than the other for the sufferings and tragic death of Hamlet? Actually, it is the united action of the both. But yes, we can say that character is more responsible for his sufferings and tragic death than fate. Fate, no doubt, shapes his destiny. It influences destiny. It influences his life, no doubt, but largely his own personality. To be more particular, his own tragic flaw reflected by his personality is responsible for his sufferings and tragic death. There are many things that happen in Hamlet that reflect that fate is playing an important role in shaping the life of our hero, Hamlet. Fate appears in the form of chance happenings in the play Hamlet. There are many chance happenings that take place in the life of Hamlet which negatively influence his life. For example, he was no doubt aggrieved at the death of his father in the beginning of the play, but he was not much aggrieved. He was not going through extreme torture. A ghost of his father appears and lays the duty of revenge upon his shoulders and tell him that his father did not die a natural death. Rather, his father has been murdered by the very uncle of him, King Claudius, the current king of state of Denmark. The ghost of his father instructs him to carry out the duty of revenge at once without any delay. So this is one of the chance happenings that happens in the life of Hamlet and ruins his life. Then there is another important chance happening that tells us that how fate is shaping the life of our protagonist Hamlet. For example, one such event is attack of the pirates upon the ship of Hamlet when he was going to another country through a sea journey. Now this attack of the pirates upon the ship of Hamlet proves to be a turning point in his life. This helps him to discover a secret letter sent by King Claudius through Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to the king of another country, and in which he instructs other king of the other country in this letter to kill Hamlet as soon as he lands on the land of that country. Hamlet discovers this letter from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's during that fight, and this was a proof enough to show that King Claudius is the murderer of his father. There is another important chance happening that happens in the life of Hamlet, and that is when his mother by chance drinks the poisoned cup of wine, which was basically kept by King Claudius for Hamlet. No doubt all these events clearly prove that fate plays an important role in shaping and forming the life of Hamlet, but still largely Hamlet's own character, Hamlet's own personality, to be more particular, Hamlet's own drawback, which is excessive thinking, that leads him towards the postponement of the duty of revenge, and which leads him towards sufferings and tragic death by the end of the play. Next important aspect of Hamlet's character is a different hero. It is believed that though Hamlet is a revenger in the tragedy, but still he is a very different kind of a hero, a different kind of a revenger, because of many aspects in his personality. What are these aspects? These aspects are, one of the special things about Hamlet's character is that it is the only Shakespearean tragic hero who evokes our sympathy throughout the play. Nowhere in the play, at no stage, he does not lose our sympathy. He always wins our sympathy throughout the play. In this regard, a very famous 19th century romantic critic, William Hazlitt, says, "The distresses of Hamlet are transferred by the turn of his mind to the general account of humanity. Whatever happens to him, we apply to ourselves, because he applies it to himself as a means of general reasoning. He is a great moralizer, and what makes him worth attending to is that he moralizes on his own feelings and experiences. He is not a commonplace pedant." So this comment of William Hazlitt clearly proves that why Hamlet wins our sympathy, because with the help of his powerful mind, he generalizes his personal experiences, right? And those personal experiences, when they are generalized, they become public experiences. Public also takes interest in his personal experiences. So this is why he wins our sympathy, wins our attention throughout the play. So this is the first important reason explained by William Hazlitt in this comment. Next is that he is a man with exquisite moral sensibility, right? What he thinks right about other people, he also thinks right for himself. If he finds fault morally in other people, he also finds fault with his own thinking, with his own ideas. This is something special about Hamlet, because he keeps on moralizing upon his own feelings, upon his own thoughts. So he is not a commonplace moralist who doesn't possess morally strong character and tries to moralize upon the feelings and thoughts and life of other people. So this is something special about Hamlet's character, pointed out by William Hazlitt. So this is something that makes Hamlet a different kind of a revenger, a different kind of a tragic hero, as compared to the rest of the tragic heroes created by William Shakespeare in his tragedies. S.T. Coleridge also points out certain things in the personality of Hamlet which make him a unique and a different kind of a tragic hero in the tragedies of William Shakespeare. He says that Hamlet is not a man of outside, rather he is a man of insight. He further says that outer world has least significance in the eyes of Hamlet. Outer world gets significance if it has any impact, strong impact upon his inner self. In other words, any event that takes place in the outer world, if it influences the inside of Hamlet, the inner self of Hamlet, then it becomes important for Hamlet. For example, one such event is the murder of his father by his very uncle King Claudius. Another such event is hasty remarriage of his mother with the same man who killed his father. William Shakespeare very powerfully communicates the importance of action in human life. That the chief end to human existence on this planet Earth is action. If you are not an active kind of a person, then your abilities, your grace, your powerful intellect, your exquisite moral sensibility, your philosophical bent of mind, your sensitive nature, your all goodness, your all virtue would go waste. This is shown by William Shakespeare, proved by William Shakespeare through the character of Hamlet. Hamlet, despite possessing a high rank as the Prince of Denmark, despite possessing a graceful and dashing personality, despite possessing great qualities of mind and heart and emotions, he keeps on delaying the duty of revenge. And as a result of that, he loses by the end of the tragedy. He becomes a tragic hero. Next important aspect to Hamlet's character is his complexity. Hamlet is a very complex kind of a character. He is not a simple revenge character. Rather, he is a very unconventional and a very complex and intricate kind of a human being. He is full of contradictions. On the one hand, he seems to be very active kind of a person. On the another hand, he seems to be very inactive kind of a person. For example, when he takes the life of Polonius, he seems to be an active kind of a person. When he grapples with pirates, fights with pirates during his sea journey, he seems to be an active kind of a person. When he jumps into Ophelia's grave and fights with Laertes, her brother, he seems to be an active kind of a person. But when it comes to the duty of revenge, he postpones it, he delays it unnecessarily. Why? We cannot know it. We are baffled and confused by this contradiction in the personality of Hamlet. There is another important aspect to Hamlet's character that makes him a complex kind of a character, a unique kind of a tragic hero, and that is he shrinks from the duty of revenge on moral grounds, on religious grounds, because he believes that if he carries out the duty of revenge, then he would become the same evil which he is trying to eradicate from this world in the form of King Claudius, the murderer of his father. In other words, in simple words, Hamlet would himself become the murderer which he is trying to eradicate from this world in the form of the murder of his father, which is King Claudius. So this is something that makes him a complex kind of a human being, a very different kind of a tragic hero. Normally in conventional tragedies, tragic heroes, tragic revengers, they do not care about such moralistic aspects, such religious aspects, such good and evil aspects of the duty of revenge. They simply jump into action and carry out the duty of revenge. They are even ready to murder a person inside a church, inside a religious place, doing a religious activity. They do not care what the murder of their relative is doing. Their simple purpose is to remove the killer of their relative from this world. But this is not the case with Hamlet. Hamlet is a different kind of a revenger. He takes into account different moral aspects, different good or bad aspects as far as his duty of revenge is concerned. So this is something that makes him a complex kind of a hero, a different kind of a hero. Last but not the least aspect of Hamlet's personality is Hamlet's growth as a character from ignorance to knowledge, as is said by Aristotle. Aristotle said that in a tragedy, every tragic hero travels from ignorance to knowledge. In simple words, in the beginning of the tragedy, a tragic hero is not aware of a certain fact in his life that he realizes by the end of the tragedy. But this realization happens too late to avoid the tragedy. This exactly happens with Hamlet. Hamlet did not know a certain facts or certain realities related to the basic life, because of which he does not embrace life as it is. He does not accept life as it is. But this realization happens in Hamlet when he thinks over, meditates over the skull of a dead person in a gravedigger's scene. A skull is thrown by a gravedigger from the grave of Ophelia, and Hamlet takes the skull into his hand and thinks over it. When he thinks over it, then he realizes the final destiny of man, which is death. He believes that the cycle of life completes with death. So here he accepts death as the final destiny of man. The moment he says this, then he comes to believe that readiness is all. That readiness in life to do anything at any point in any way is the most important thing in life. If we do not have this readiness, then our life will be ruined, our life will be destroyed. The moment he realizes that we should be ready to carry out our actions, we should not weigh and think much about moral aspect and religious aspects and good and bad aspects of things that we are about to commit. With this mind, he enters into a fight with Laertes and carries out the duty of revenge. But this realization happens too late on the part of Hamlet to avoid the tragedy. He does carry out the duty of revenge, but at the cost of his own life. So this is one of the important aspects of Hamlet as a tragic hero in Shakespearean tragedy, Hamlet, that he travels from ignorance to knowledge. So this is the last but not the least aspect of Hamlet's character. This is it for today. I hope you have understood each and everything that I told you today in my lecture. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.